If you want to tell amazing stories around your table playing Dungeons & Dragons or any role-playing game, then you're in the right place. Tactics and strategy, facts and figures, optimization and tweaking, they're all part of the game, and if that's where you find joy, then more power to you. But that style of play, it isn't for me. They're not what makes playing TTRPGs such a unique experience. This guide is for players who are looking for something different from their games, something you can't solve for. I want to help you create something unique that you just can't find in any other medium. Amazing stories with your friends where none of you, including the Dungeon Master or the Game Master, know what's going to happen next. My name's Rich, this is Renegade Rolls, and let's learn how to be more than players. Let's be storytellers, together with our friends. So, two big questions. What are storytelling focused games and why should we choose to play them? Well, a storytelling focused game still uses all the rules and mechanics from our favourite TTRPGs, but sometimes we prioritise the narrative over the nuts and bolts of the system. We choose to play it in a way where we feel comfortable setting some of these aside, maybe even entire game systems at times, in order to make the games more fun. With this narrative-first approach, it would be wrong of me to say that we lose nothing at all. There's one thing we do lose, and that is the sense of playing it right, in the way in which the designers potentially intended. But they're not here. They're not around your table. They're not going to tell you that you're playing it wrong. For that low price, we gain an awful lot. We gain freedom. That's the freedom for the tale that we tell to be truly our own. The way that we as a group decide to tell it. To make these storyful games happen, you've got to get yourself into a certain mindset. If you're brand new to the hobby, don't worry. This doesn't require any experience in playing games at all. And in fact, new people might find this easier to adopt this mindset than folks who have been playing for a long time. That mindset, that one weird trick, is actually dead simple. All that you need to do, moment to moment, when you're playing around a table, is to decide to engage with the story. That's it. It means asking questions of the Game Master about the environment or the characters that you meet. It means asking questions about your fellow characters and being curious in the stories that they have to tell. If everyone goes into the game with this spirit of curiosity, you'll build something, layer upon layer, that becomes intricate, becomes this shared little jewel that you and your group have made. For me, I find that so much more interesting than thinking about hit points and armor classes and all that sort of thing. To make sure that this can happen around your table, I'd recommend having the conversation, is what I'm going to call it. It could be at session 0 at the start of the campaign. It could be mid-campaign where you feel you want to change focus. It could just be a 2-minute chat to say, yeah, let's try it. Let's give it a go. During scenes that you're creating with your friends, if you're all in this mindset together, well, the story is going to happen organically. It doesn't need planning, it doesn't need constructing artificially. It'll come out of everyone together. You can have a story-driven game in mind right from the beginning, right when you start character creation, by thinking about their goals and potential contradictions. Chances are your game system of choice will have a lot to say about classes and subclasses, the differences between different types of character, but those are mechanical. Those don't get to the heart of who the person is. Why are they doing what they're doing? In a heroic fantasy kind of game, why is your character so far from home? Why are they out living this life of adventure when they could be safe? They could be just safe at home. The goals that you set for your player character, they can still tie into the game mechanics in some ways. Maybe they want to get stronger, they want to level up, they want to be the best hero that they can be. Or the goal just could be to get back home again, to stop fighting, to live a life of peace once more. To create a character who is ready to be part of the story, they'll need to have something that they want to change in the world. If you've created a character who is okay with the way things are in the world, any game master worth their salt is going to say, yeah, you know what, this can't last. And they're going to do something which will help get that character to be more proactive. At its heart, story is change. This could be a change externally, maybe the world's altered for better or worse during the course of a campaign, or it could be an internal change, where it's not so much about what's happening in the world outside, but how our character changes on the inside. Maybe changing from a coward to someone who's brave and strong, or, a more interesting story, someone who's brave and strong who over the course of the tale becomes a coward. Well, that's a story for you to tell. A useful character building tip is to give them a contradiction, something you just would not expect. The sneaky, conniving rogue who donates to charity, or the gruff barbarian what speaks like this, but he's very, very good at poetry. when thinking about these goals, these contradictions, and these changes that we want our characters to go through, it's important to remember that we are not scriptwriters. You are welcome to dream about future scenarios that you want your characters to go through, but as soon as we start to actively, directly plan them, that's where things begin to fall apart. Thinking about where a story could go is great. Deciding where a story should go is dangerous. If you have such a strong idea in your head of what your character's plot needs to be, what their arc should be like, you might be better off writing a novel. This is because tabletop role-playing games are at their heart collaborative. We are working with others to make the stories better, letting other people in and trusting them. The role of collaboration in TTRPGs can be a bit of a divisive topic. Your player character is your own. During the course of the game, nobody should be allowed to tell you what they do, or certainly not what they think. But having said that, in recent times, every single one of the characters that I've made for TTRPG has been massively better, because I've worked with other people to help figure out what their story is. This might not have been in a big way. It might have been, help me think of a name for their hometown. Or it could be something where my character is, struggling to make friends with the rest of the group. By asking other players, well, why do you think my character's like this? They can have completely different ideas in their head to what I've got in mind, and that makes it wonderful. I get to pick from all kinds of different directions which way I'd like this character to go, and likewise, when someone lets me in, when they trust me to help them think about their character as well, that feels really good, and it's likely that if we keep on doing this, the characters we create will be the product of everyone's imaginations together, while still remembering that your character is your own. From the moment a game starts, you can expect that your best laid plans, and potentially even your character's goals, they will change. No plan survives contact with the enemy, and no plan in the universe survives contact with a group of players. This is even before thinking about that improbable succession of ones that we could get on the dice. To help us cope with this, we can learn to and embrace improvisation. You're probably already doing some short form improvisation when something unexpected happens at the table, but we can take the approach of, I don't know what's going to happen, and that's okay, to a whole different level. We can accept that our story is not written in stone, that we're not writing that novel. If we can accept that uncertainty and embrace the chaos, everything gets better. Speaking of chaos, does this story-driven approach work in combat? Well, yes, and it works wonderfully. It's a common complaint to hear that roleplay stops when combat begins, as suddenly the game becomes battle chess. But when I'm playing, I find I've got different options for how to express my character. Rather than the character using their words, they can use their actions. Now, this doesn't mean deliberately making terrible choices. It doesn't mean the level 1 character running straight up to the giant knowing it's going to be certain death. What we're looking to do is to make sure that actions in combat fit the character. Often combat will give tough choices for characters to make. Should they heal their friend or take the fight to the enemy? Well, asking in your head, well, what would my character do? What would they choose to do in this moment? That's where some of the strongest roleplay moments can happen. I had a character that I played in a D&D campaign of the Curse of Strahd, where while fighting in combat with other creatures, the group saw Strahd up on the hill, the vampire count himself, looking out through a portal that he'd made. It wasn't something he was able to travel through, he was able to see out of this kingdom that he was trapped in. My character, being a wild magic sorcerer and someone who was fascinated by interplanar goings on and the merging together of worlds, looked at this, looked at the battle happening, raging around her, and said, you know what, I'm going to join him. And she did. She left the party mid-combat to join the big bad, supposedly evil guy of the whole campaign. And it was brilliant. I had the best time. And looking back on it now, a few years later, we tell that story rather than the story of whatever was going on in that combat. I can't actually remember. I've got a spicy take for you. Matt Mercer and Brendan Lee Mulligan are great, but their players are even better. If you watch any of Dimension 20, you'll see that those players, well, they've barely played Dungeons & Dragons before, but they are so totally there for the story. I bet those groups, before they started, they had that conversation about the parts of the game that they really wanted to focus on. And I'm so glad they chose to focus on the story, because those games are brilliant, and the kind of thing that I want to emulate at my tables. Those huge, crazy stories, those are possible for you as well. Me on this channel, Renegade Rolls, well, I am devoted to helping people learn to tell stories around their tables. If you'd like to join one of those tables and also meet people with a similar mindset, well, I've got a Discord server full of lovely folks. If you are a game master or dungeon master, well, this video here is going to be for you. This one is going to be about something completely different. I hope you enjoy. I'll see you there, where we can learn to be storytellers together with our friends.